Hey, it can't all be NES, right? Today we're taking a look at Babel no Tuo, translated literally as Tower of Babel and largely known simply as Babel, a puzzle game from 1986 released exclusively in Japan for the Nintendo Famicom. It resembles a pair of games I'll cover in a future episode, which are Solomon's Key and Fire and Ice. The game was published and developed by Namco and fortunately doesn't require you to know any Japanese to play. You would need to know Japanese to read the manual, but thankfully the game is pretty simple to grasp, so you really shouldn't need it. Let's take a look. Babel features protagonist Indiana Borgnine. Indiana Borgnine. Yep, he's an archaeologist and explorer in search of the fabled Hanging Gardens of Babylon. He has determined the only way to see them is to travel to the top of the 64-story Tower of Babel, and he has a point. They've never really said how high the Gardens of Babylon would be hanging, have they? Unfortunately for Indy, he must overcome the mind-bending and deadly puzzles that lie in wait. The premise is simple: move L-shaped blocks to form stairs in order to reach a door. There are a few wrinkles here and there. Sometimes you have to get to a switch first to open the door before you can exit through it. There are also enemies that appear like bats that bump up and down, and these holy guys called Priests of who wander around and kill you on contact. You can protect yourself from enemies with the blocks by either shielding yourself with them or smashing a priest in the head with one. The enemies do come back though. One thing you'll notice pretty quickly is that it really matters how you pick up the block. If you pick it up from the long end and lay it down, you can't turn it around. You're kind of stuck behind it. If you pick it up from the short end though, you can always set it down and climb over it. This little layer of nuance makes you hesitate before you make any move in this game, as blocking yourself in means you're done, and there aren't infinite lives. The game is generous though. The difficulty ramps up slowly as you go, and each level you complete gives you an extra Indy, so you can stockpile a few early. But death comes easy, as you can die by falling into spikes, falling while holding a block, getting hit by an enemy, or pressing select to suicide yourself if you do become stuck. You can also run out of power and die. Your power is indicated in the upper left, and that number represents the number of total times you can pick up an L block in that level. It's rare to run out, but it's something you must manage. The first 20 or so levels aren't too tough to figure out, but after that it starts to get crazy. Thankfully, there is a password system to get you back to a level you left off, which is extremely handy, as some levels toward the end require a lot of trial and error to figure out. If you own a Famicom, or are looking for a puzzle-like experience, Babel is great because again, you don't need to know any Japanese to play it, it's simple to grasp, and has no real drawbacks aside from making you wish you were smarter. You also don't need a Famicom to play it. It has been released on the Wii U Virtual Console, and it also came to arcades in the Nintendo Versus series as Versus Tower of Babel. It has also made its way to the Game Boy in Namco Gallery Volume 3 and was also included on Namco Anthology for PlayStation. However, both of those were only released in Japan. Again, if you enjoy Babel, I'll get around to covering two games on the NES it reminds me of eventually, as Solomon's Key and Fire and Ice are very similar experiences. As always, look out for bats and priests, and thanks for watching.